knew about it. They all chose to remain silent. They are complicit in some way in Sacramento's biggest crime. Every individual involved must have feared crossing Joyce Raley Teal, the bitter and angry billionaire. She must have gone into a rage when she discovered that her entire wealth and company's success was built on the efforts of a man she didn't even know. A man who held the power to take it all away. But all he wanted was to be honored for what he did. The greatest success story in Sacramento history. Instead, the Raley family committed the heinous crime of fraud against a man named Charles Nordby. Once they learned he had returned to Sacramento to tell their true success story, they set out to destroy the man who came to save them. However, their crimes are coming back to haunt them, exposing everyone involved. Since 1991, due to Joyce Raley Teal's accumulated wealth from these crimes, all of Sacramento's news media have had to suppress the Raley crime story to shield her, her company, and all the players involved, which included every news outlet in the Sacramento area. KCRA3, Sacramento B, Sacramento Union, KOVR 13, KXTV 10, KTXL 40, Sacramento Magazine. Even Dateline NBC nearly pleaded with us for exclusive rights to the Charles Nordby success story until they realized that this success story was evolving into a significant crime story that would not only expose KCRA3, their NBC affiliate, but all of Sacramento's news media for silencing and concealing this monumental fraud from the public. Stan Atkinson, the beloved news anchor for KCRA3, could not report this crime for fear of losing Raley's advertising budget. Do you remember KCRA3's opening line on the nightly news?
This portion of the news sponsored by Raley's.
On March 4, 1992, Stan was even presented with a complimentary book from Charles Nordby while he was still alive, titled, Raley's Exposed? Who on Earth Saved Raley's? Because Raley's advertising budget had ballooned once this crime story began leaking out in 1991, Stan Atkinson and KCRA3 management could not afford to reveal the truth about Raley's and risk losing the lucrative account, potentially worth millions to John Kelly, the owner of KCRA3. As it turns out, because of this story, John Kelly was the king of fake news, and all the reporters and anchors were his puppets. Thus, Raley's hush money had to support all of Sacramento's news media to keep this true crime story under wraps. News reporters were all offered the chance to investigate and view the proof and evidence we would provide so they could report on Raley's crime. Perhaps they were advised to simply look the other way. Yet not a single reporter expressed any interest in seeing the evidence. They were all silenced by the powers that be. If this were not a true story, Joyce Raley Teal and her wealth would have completely obliterated this narrative through legal actions against Charles Nordby. However, they were well aware, based on Charles Nordby's own reputation in the San Francisco Bay Area, that he had never lost a case in court. Ever. Poor Katie Grimes, Sacramento Union columnist, whose article titled, Why the Truth Matters, initially piqued our interest until she decided that the truth about Charles Nordby didn't matter. After receiving a copy of Charles Nordby's book, she reached out to let us know that she was unable to report on this story because a newspaper the size of the Sacramento Union could be shut down in one day by Raley's. Well, Katie Grimes, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But then again, 16 years ago, no one could foresee just how expansive this crime would become. Welcome aboard, Katie Grimes. Speaking of beautiful newspaper writers, let's consider Diana Griego Irwin, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the infamous Sacramento Bee. However, her article dated January 4th, 1998, titled, Everyone is Entitled to a Day in Court, suggests she may not have been aware that Charles Nordby was denied his day in court. She too had the opportunity to write about the true Charles Nordby success Raley crime story, but she declined the chance to report on this authentic Pulitzer Prize-winning narrative. In her article dated May 2nd, 1999, on a different topic titled, Only the Victim is Still Suffering, Diana accurately highlighted the crime against Charles Nordby, stating in her first paragraph, It happens, and people in positions of power still look the other way, which I can only assume is exactly what the perpetrators in such cases depend on. 25 years later, this sentiment resonates regarding the Raley Teal crime. Nevertheless, the good news is that her daughter managed to marry into the Raley Teal family. Congratulations to Jessica Marie Irwin and Robert Michael Teal. Oh yeah, and don't forget, the entire wealth and success of the Jim and Joyce Raley Teal family stemmed from an act of fraud against Charles Nordby, the very reason you are on this website today. The 4 leading religious figures in the Sacramento area turned a blind eye and/or lied about Charles Nordby. Louis Neely, Glenn and Rick Cole, Ray Johnston. They too had personal and/or financial ties to Raley's and the Teal family. Money also buys friends. Yet, money cannot purchase a clear conscience before God. The largest law firm in Northern California, Downey, Brand, Seymour, and Rower, violated the rule of law, filed fraudulent court documents, and misled Judge Joe Gray, corrupting and perverting the justice system against Charles Nordby through their courtroom shenanigans and fraudulent legal submissions. Judge Joe Gray either signed or rubber-stamped everything placed before him. Was Judge Joe Gray in the deep pockets of Raley's, or Downey, Brand, Seymour, and Rower? Time will tell. Imagine the most prominent law firm in Northern California being publicly shamed by a 70-year-old man. Now consider this. Everyone chose to ignore how Charles Nordby was wronged. In our view, what they did is comparable to the public rape of an elderly man. Downey, Brand, Seymour, and Rower was caught with their pants down. Now everyone will awaken to the corruption within Sacramento's leading law firm. Law enforcement must have been instructed to stand down in this matter. The sheriff, FBI, and others. Politicians have known about this crime for the past 33 years. Governors, mayors, city hall officials, the Sacramento district attorney, California attorney generals. Yet in 33 years, not one person mentioned in this story has ever questioned its validity, refuted the claims, sought more information, or even shown interest in pursuing justice for Charles Nordby. Isn't that baffling? Not really once you understand the extensive machine involved in this conspiracy of silence. They ensure no one speaks up, because if anyone does, the jig is up. Similar to gang members who vow never to utter a word about the crimes they witnessed. Fraud, theft, collusion, rape, murder, you name it. For over 33 years, the family of Charles Nordby has been sharing his remarkable success story and exposing the crime along with the multitude of individuals who have become complicit. We will continue to do so until the crime is resolved or the injustice is righted. His justice is coming.